Welcome to the Faithful Fireside Podcast. I've been reading Tom King's Wonder Woman, and there's this panel, which is like highly symbolic, obviously, because she's tied up on this post, and there's a lasso of lies, kind of like the lasso of truth, except for the lasso of lies flows the lie into someone instead of drawing the truth out of them, right? So the idea is trying to like grossly misuse scripture to belittle her because she's a woman.
Yeah.
Great story though. But then of course getting a
glass of wine.
Well, it's a glass of wine, which is blood being poured out on her head, which is baptism, right?
I see.
So it's basically a dark baptism. So the whole thing is really very symbolic.
Interesting.
I love that stuff, man. I love symbolism.
What is this? You got a salt white spot?
Man,
That is crazy.
I know.
Just a white spot. That's
I was at Sherwin-Williams buying paint, I don't know, 6 months ago, and he said, "Hey, you got paint on the back of your head." I said, "No, I am going white at 37 years old."
Yeah.
So, yep.
So you're 37, I'm 35
Yeah.
just now.
Yeah.
So we're all about the same age. We all lived in we remember the 90s,
Yeah.
right? Old enough to remember it, yeah.
Yep.
So we're going to get started. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are back. I'm Kevin Bright.
I'm Ryder Walton.
And today we are interviewing a good friend of mine, Kevin Kelley.
Kevin Kelley, which, because of you, I'm known as Kelley, so that's okay. I mean, it's just the truth, you know, so.
And it's super annoying that some of my oldest friends now call me Bright. I'm like, no, you knew me as Kevin first.
Yeah. That used to bother me in high school when like the coaches would get on to me and they'd be like, Walton? I'm like, you know me better than that. Okay. Come on. I got two last names. Okay. My name is Ryder Walton, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for coming down.
Yeah.
How's the drive?
It was hectic, especially when I got off 40. It got really busy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
Nice.
whatever.
Are you out in Western Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anything compared to, Weatherford's going to be busy.
Yeah.
So
Pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah, Ryder is from Shattuck, which
I'm
is
from
up there by
Shattuck.
Woodward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A little bit like 30 miles west of Woodward,
Yeah.
1,200 people,
Yeah.
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 So we're all same half of the state at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
good.
So,
Yeah.
briefly, give us an overview of, where you're born, where you grew up, how
Okay.
religion played, was religion part of your life growing up, where you're at now, and what you're doing. And
Okay.
then we'll dive into spots and go deep into them. So
Okay.
just a brief overview.
So yeah, I'm from Weatherford, born and raised, never left.
Did you want to leave?
So not necessarily.
Okay,
no.
see, I'm asking that
No,
question being another rural person.
Weatherford is a very good community.
Mm.
It is very family friendly.
Yeah,
A homogenous community
yeah,
and well educated
Yeah.
because of the college and everything.
right. That's fair.
So
Big enough that there's not like one. There's probably not one central in-out group, right?
Yeah.
But it's still small.
it's
But
still small.
Okay.
So and crime rate's extremely low.
which is nice.
It is very
I always
nice.
told people, like, I personally can't go back now, but
Yeah.
growing up there was great.
Yeah.
It was the perfect place to
Yeah,
grow up.
it is a good community, and it's grown
Yeah.
significantly since
Really?
we were in high school. It really
Okay.
has.
Yeah.
So, I grew up in between a very small town and Weatherford, Corn, Oklahoma, and
Okay.
Weatherford.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on not a farm, but in a farmhouse. My family were raised as farmers. My mother and father, peanut farmers.
Okay.
So very poor as far as where my parents came from, and because of President Carter and a bunch of other socioeconomic factors,
Yeah.
the peanuts just everybody went bankrupt that farmed
Oh
peanuts.
my gosh,
So
I didn't know that.
3M, Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, they had a plant in Weatherford, and so my father got a job there. And he's been very formative on my life. He's a very hardcore atheist, but he's also and I reluctantly say this, he's a genius. So
Yeah.
without any formal engineering training, he became the highest level of engineer that you can become at 3M.
Wow.
And so I grew up, you work, and that is your value.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and if you don't work, you have no value.
Okay.
So,
I can understand that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, as far as religion goes, I was not like some type of avowed atheist, but I definitely didn't come to Christ until my early teens.
Mm.
Ironically, and just because of coincidence, becoming Kevin's friend kind of coincided. It was all very formative, early teenage years. It all happened all at once.
Gotcha.
I was raised in a church, Mennonite Brethren, which is a very small subsect of like an evangelical. I'm hesitant to even say evangelical.
Yeah, I think there's some Mennonites at Vici as well, if I seem to remember. Okay, yeah.
And Mennonites, I didn't know this because being in Western Oklahoma, they're actually primarily in Canada.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The subsect that is in Oklahoma is a very rare occurrence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the largest Mennonite Brethren church in North America is actually in Corn, Oklahoma. So
wow.
Yeah. And it's not like some kind of cathedral or anything, but they have a very good missions program, lots of churches in Africa. I've got some friends that I went to college with. They're in Uganda right now, and they committed their whole life. I mean, that's where they live.
Okay.
So. But all that being said, the main differences between a Mennonite and, let's say, a Baptist or something like that, they're pacifists. So
I see.
Not something I necessarily ascribe to.
Right.
And they're also more conservative, primarily farming backgrounds. You can, they're always compared to the Amish.
Right.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Always compared to the Amish. The Mennonite Brethren, and I keep saying brethren because that's a subsect of Mennonites.
Yeah.
They're taught you can integrate into society. You just have to, the Bible is the authority, and you are to go out and spread the gospel.
Okay.
So that's the key things. But
is there anything that they wear distinguished?
No. And again, there's my wife's best friend. She was raised Mennonite. I don't know that she was Mennonite Brethren, but she told me, just last week, I didn't read from the New Testament until I was in my teenage years.
Okay.
So very, closer to a Jew than a Christian.
Interesting.
So very very strict.
Yeah.
As with any religion, but especially certain subsects of Christianity, it can be abused, just like you were talking about.
Right.
Just to keep people under your thumb.
And
I have seen that
right.
in the more traditional Mennonite communities.
Gotcha. That makes sense. It makes sense.
Yep.
And what about your mom?
My mother. And I, everybody's going to think this, I would hope, about their mother. Best person I've ever met.
Yeah.
So kind of like some religions even, you've got the dark and the light. I don't think my father's ever going to watch this, so I don't care to hide that fact. But if I had to point to somebody that just lives their life daily with a joy of, Christ is within me, and not that she's reading the Bible every day or anything like that. I mean, she does, but she is the nicest, kindest person that I know.
Gotcha.
And she, unfortunately, she does have Parkinson's.
Okay.
So that was a recent development in the past couple of years. So she hasn't even reached 67 yet, I don't believe, but she's got Parkinson's. But even through that, joyful, happy, giving, just very I'll just have people come up to me, your mom helped me this one time, and I've never heard of these stories, it's a constant. So
nice.
I grew up in a very strange family dynamic. My mom is Christian, but really just the dark and the light type of thing.
Yeah.
And you have an older brother. How much older?
He's 8 years my senior. He's my only sibling.
Okay.
We are not alike.
Yeah.
He does go to church. He's divorced. He's got two children.
Okay.
Just a very typical
Yeah.
American guy is how I would characterize him.
Gotcha.
And real estate is the family business?
Real estate's family business. So through my father working for 3M, he went through several layoffs. Several. He always survived each one.
Okay. Yeah.
How did he do that? Well, multiple times he lived in either South Dakota or Minnesota while we remained in Weatherford.
I
Okay.
didn't know that.
The longest, I believe, was 3 years.
Mm.
So I spent many a summer in Hutchinson, Minnesota, where he was that last time. But because of him foreseeing, hey, eventually I won't have anywhere to go. My skills are not transferable to anywhere else. I have no actual degree. I'm this, tier whatever engineer, but that doesn't mean anything outside of 3M.
Okay.
We need to have a backup plan. And again, he's very intelligent. So my mother had begun just as a cashier at United Grocery, which is just a small grocery chain.
Right.
Then she became a secretary at a real estate agency. Then she became a real estate agent, and then she opened her own real estate agency in Weatherford in 2000. And she's very blessed. She would actually sleep. It was only 2 miles away from her house. She would sleep at the office. My parents are both workaholics. I would say easily 80, 90 hours a week.
Yeah.
Growing up, everybody would come over to my house, and we would never see my parents the entire time.
Wow.
All day.
Yeah.
Played WoW over there for many hours.
Yeah, many hours. World of Warcraft have wasted 1,000 hours of my life.
Yeah.
And I mean it that way. But because of that, they began to buy rental properties. I attended Southwestern there in Weatherford, and I got a chemical engineering degree. I say that because it's not a real engineering degree. But I did graduate with that, but simultaneously, or coinciding with that, we were building our first complex. We had several rentals, and we were building our first complex. I was enlisted because it was so far behind schedule to complete it, and I just did what my parents did. I worked 90 hours a week. Sometimes I slept, again, only a mile away from my house. I'd just sleep at the complex.
I see.
And we got it completed, and then my dad said, hey, why don't you just work for me? And I accepted.
I see. Yeah.
And so I've been in the rental business ever since.
Okay.
I own about 100 rental units, and then I manage another 87.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it's a full-time job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
And you're married. When did you meet your wife?
I met my wife, actually our mutual friend, J.D. Dickey, dated her in middle school. So
My
small town
Victoria
American.
friend that I always talk
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Which, he left the Snapchat group yesterday. You never are on there, so you don't know, but he finally left.
about. Interesting. I'll hear about why later.
Yeah, you'll have to ask him. It's only ever, videos of Tyson, doing workout stuff. I don't think Tyson's probably going to watch your podcast. So, and if you do, that's okay. But so that's the first time I ever knew her. But how did I actually get to know her? Cross country. We ran cross country together in high school.
Okay.
And we did break up in high school, and then we got back together in college.
Right, yeah.
And she's been it.
And would she grew up Church of Christ, kind of?
So
Your wedding was at Church of Christ. I specifically remember no dancing or drinking.
again,
what the hell is this?
That's what happened. That was our wedding.
So
His wedding as well.
the only reason that happened
Yeah.
is it was free.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now you're talking.
Yeah. Yeah. Because of it being free.
Yeah.
Again, not a problem. It's still a church. It was still.
Yeah.
But I would say I had the cheapest. I think you would agree, the cheapest wedding out of any of our friends by
for
far.
sure.
We'd paid for it.
I mean,
we paid for
you're
it all.
competing with Aaron a little bit, but you'd probably beat him.
Yeah, I beat him. I don't think Aaron would doubt that. But yeah, when you're footing the bill,
Yeah.
And I did get married fairly early before a lot of us did.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So when you're young, I had just graduated, and we got married 2 months later.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Well, I think he beat you.
I was 20. My wife
You
was
did.
19.
You
yeah,
did beat
yeah,
me.
and
Yeah.
her grandparents paid for it. Otherwise, we probably just would have had to go.
They met
for
freshman
both
year
somewhere.
at OC or Oklahoma Christian.
Oklahoma
right?
Christian University. Yeah, yeah. And so we actually had met online because they have this OC community app.
Yeah.
It was kind of like Facebook for the incoming freshmen. Met there, and then I think I asked her to go steady with me, and I used that terminology, which is hilarious. The first day we met, and she was like, "Sure, this is,
Yeah.
this guy seems reasonably
Probably felt bad
fine."
for you.
I think so, probably, and then I took her on a journey across, the planet and, made her suffer through my PhD program. So, it's kind of unfortunate for her that she got stuck with me in that regard. But yeah, I mean, that went well. So, I think the worst part about it is we didn't ever really do a honeymoon because of that.
We're in the same boat.
Okay, yeah. So now we're like, how are we going to afford that, 4 kids in, and try and do that?
Well, the time alone, it's not. I would say
Yeah.
it's not so much the money as how are we going to have just us
for
for an extended
like a
period
week.
of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now, I think technically Lane beat everybody. He got
He
married in
did.
summer of 2012.
Just a little.
Aaron
bit.
was December of 2012, but you were summer of 2013.
Yeah.
But I think he beat everybody to having kids first.
I did. So,
Yeah.
These are the important ones.
yeah. To be clear, I did get my wife pregnant after we were married, but it was but it was
That's fair.
immediate. I think
It's like right on the timeline of like people are.
it was immediate within months.
Yeah.
It was not planned,
Yeah.
and I did not.
That's right. I forgot.
I
about
did not
that.
have the best reaction.
That's so long. That's right.
Yeah,
That's funny.
I'm sure I called you and
Yeah.
said I'm having a kid. I love my children.
Yeah,
I love my wife.
Right.
I would not change anything about it. But I have 3 children.
Okay.
My oldest is 11. My second son is 8, and then I have a 3-year-old girl,
Nice.
4-year-old girl,
He's close.
4-year-old girl, and then a vasectomy.
Difference.
So that was an agreement with my wife. No more kids.
Yeah.
She had really hard pregnancies.
Yeah, you
I
were
did
you were
too.
4 more kids, but it was hard on her, and she was like, "I'm done."
Kevin, I would have 10 kids.
Yeah, you got
I'm the same way.
I really would.
But
It
it's
would-
the same thing. It's really
Yeah.
hard on Lindsay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think we're probably done, but we're Catholic, so that just means
yeah.
that just
yeah.
means natural family
That's
planning,
right. That's right. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's okay. I'll just be way holier than Kevin by the time we're done with all that.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your ages for your kids?
so Eliza is 9, Olivia is 7, but she's going to be 8 really soon. And I might be getting all these wrong because I'm going to put it on the spot. And then Ezra is, so then Alina is 2 and Ezra is 1.
So yeah, he's got the
So
spread.
God.
everybody's going to be rolling in age fairly soon. So those are the right answers, but we're getting close to June. June's
Yeah.
our big birthday month. So we have like 3 of the 6 of us have their birthday in June.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and Alina, my third, was literally born on Lindsay's birthday. So which is kind of interesting because she hijacks everything. And so it's like symbolically, right? It's like Jacob and Esau, like being born, Jacob's like clutching onto the heel kind of an idea. That's kind of what Lena's, the symbolism of her birth on my wife's birthday, she just takes like everything. Everything is mine. This is my bedroom. This is my whatever. And she's just like, man, okay. The other 3 are easy. She's redheaded and firecracker.
So in Weatherford, which church do you go to now?
So I did convert. I go to First Baptist. You know,
I mean, being from there, it's like the nicest church.
it is.
Okay,
It's
okay.
it's the
Probably the
largest
best-
church.
Yeah.
It's the nicest
Best
church.
youth groups, I'm assuming, and
Yeah, they just it has a good sense of community. I was very worried with larger churches you'd lose that.
You can, for sure.
I mean, you really can.
Yeah.
So obviously, I don't know everybody that goes to church there, and for a lot of people, and as Christendom as a whole,
Yeah.
Catholics as a whole, you get your Easter and your Christmas in type of thing. Well, a lot of
There's a
people,
right, a lot of people.
I feel, do that with
That's what we call the priester.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's been great. They just got a new pastor. He's younger than me, which is interesting.
Where's he from?
I don't know. I don't
Not
know.
a local.
Yeah,
Most likely not.
I should know, but
Someone you don't recognize. Yeah.
yeah. But he's been good, and
It's always the church I went to Falls Creek with.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, they've been great. I was initially saved through another Baptist ministry. So again, I attended the Mennonite church, but once I was saved, then I really got back into the Mennonite.
I guess you kind of hopped, because at some point in time, weren't you at Emmanuel?
So I was saved through Emmanuel's ministry.
Okay.
But then I returned to Pine Acres, which they don't even really. Mennonite Brethren's not on their signage or anything, and that's a common thing. I've talked to some other Mennonites about that, and as long as they're keeping to the word, that's all that's relevant.
I see.
As far as opinions on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I prefer to be known as Mennonite because of the more conservative viewpoints that they hold.
Okay.
I really do. So when people ask me, "What are you?" I'm Mennonite.
Okay. All right.
I don't say the Brethren part because nobody knows what that is.
Yeah.
I think worldwide.
Sounds a little culty. No, I'm just
Well, I mean, it does, right? Worldwide, there's only 100,000, or
Okay.
Wow.
it's very small.
Yeah.
Very small.
And are you are you raising your kids in the same church, or how are you getting your kids
Yeah,
involved?
going to First, it's just the typical white American family. That's true. Say what you will, but the kids go to Sunday school. We go to service. My oldest goes to youth group on Wednesdays. When I go to Bible study on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Being in small town America, I am blessed. The men that I go to Bible study with, they're all older than me, except for my brother-in-law that I invited to go with me, and they're pillars of the community. Tommy Neighbors, it's the local shoe store.
Oh yeah.
One of the main guy that runs it, his family's had John Deere in his family for generations.
I see. I see.
So
Yep.
just very foundational pillars of the community, and they do have a love for Christ. In what they do and where they've been and how they conduct themselves. So it's you are who you surround yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
You are. And
that's why I'm in trouble.
See, yeah, that's I was about to say, so friend group wise, we had that unique subset of the Weatherford people that we were all friends with. The only other friend group I've ever had besides ours was the Mennonite men that I was inducted with, and my friend Kyle that's in Uganda. I've got another friend that I met. He's a Mennonite preacher in Alberta.
Okay.
It goes to show you that if those men are in those positions today, 20 years on, I haven't seen some of them in 20 years,
Yeah.
But if they're in those positions today, well then, yeah, they maintained their faith and their relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
So I'm not as good as them. I'm not, but I'm proud to be able to call them friends.
Yeah, for sure.
So
what is if the future goes the way that you want it to go, what does it look like for you? Weatherford your whole life, or
my doctor told me
kids out of the house all
yeah, no,
that's a really good start.
So to be honest, my doctor told me last week if I don't get a grip on all the stress that I have from work, I'll be dead in 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Property management stuff.
Oh, it's horrible.
Last year on our ski trip in Red River, New Mexico, our friend group, we were all downstairs hanging out in the morning, just talking, and Kelley walks down, and he didn't look good. I was like, "You sleep all right?" He's like, "No, had nightmares that my apartment's caught on fire."
Oh my!
I was like,
Dude, just get insurance and let it go.
Yeah, I mean, I've got it.
Okay,
but with how rates are going, that's half my problem.
I mean, so my mom's an insurance agent. That's legit.
It is.
Insurance is crazy expensive in a scheme anyhow. Like my fence got blown down at the house that we're trying to sell in Shattuck. I'm friends with Cesar Torres is the guy's name. Cesar's amazing. So I love those guys. So he fixed it for me, and it was only $850 to fix the fence. That's a good price.
Yeah,
we're good friends. We go to mass together when we're there, but because of insurance, it's like, well, that's under your deductible. So I mean, you
might as well
if it's you can't claim anything unless it's like I don't know. 2,000,
if you claim, then they bump your rates.
Then they bump your rates.
They do bump your rates.
Yeah, so it's like, what a scheme. I mean, thank God for good friends. That'll fix something you can afford it. But it's just nuts.
Yeah, so I mean, speaking about that, like obviously being your friend, I know you always had a lot of stress.
Yeah.
How do you plan on tackling that or making improvements?
So, and I need to do it. That's the problem. You can make plans all day.
Right. That's.
I'm really going to try and cut back on a lot of what I say that I will do, and I'll expound on that. I'm not ashamed to say that I go to marriage counseling. What is the divorce days now? Over 50%.
It's definitely close. Yeah.
So I'm always very upfront that me and Taylor got very close to getting divorced, and I take full responsibility for that. Work is such an integral part of my life.
Right. That you learn from your parents.
That I learned from my parents. That is, again, to get any type of value out of particularly my father, not so much my mother, you have to work. So, and that's extended. Well, I manage my parents' stuff, so that's extended into my adult life. But I see a counselor once a week, and it's really, we just bullshit, but
it helps you keep on track.
It helps me keep on track, and so I value that. And he's told me, having a professional be able to analyze you. At first when I was going to do marriage counseling, I thought it made me less of a man. Hey, I can't stay married. I have to go talk to some shrink. What a masculine thing.
So, there's a big stigma on it. It's good on you for
absolutely
doing what you need to
do. So I've gone and I've met with him, and it's helped me to see things in myself that I wasn't aware of.
Right.
Most recently, that I just massively always say yes to people. When they ask me for favors. So a little more background. I'm an apprentice plumber, electrician, and heat and air.
Oh, I didn't know any of that. So you do.
I do it all. I really do. I do it all. So
amazing, man.
Because of that, if somebody calls me, we had one of our friends call me just the other day, and I put in a toilet for his mother.
Yeah.
It was it drains in the wall. I've never seen a residential toilet that drains in the wall in my entire life.
What?
I had to teach myself how to do it. I had to figure out the fittings.
It took way more time than I thought.
Right.
It took me 4 or 5 hours, of time I didn't have. And then, yesterday I snaked a sewer line for my brother, and then hey, it's working, everything's great. Downstairs flooded because the sewer line broke in the wall downstairs. And it's totally inaccessible. And so now I've got that. It's just one thing after another. Well, if I just didn't say yes to those things, that's outside of my business. That's outside of my personal property. That's outside of my parents' property.
Yeah.
So I really need to learn to say no.
It's really hard.
It is.
Protect your own time better.
Yes, not valuing my own time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing about it. Like, I had a hard time with that too. I think it's one of the reasons why I wasn't. And I thought God wanted to be a youth minister, but I knew that God wanted me to marry Lindsay. And then after we got married, and I was in youth ministry, before becoming Catholic for a couple of years.
Okay.
It was like very clear that this was not going to work. Yeah. And it's because I could not say no to the kids, but also the job is effectively, you can't really say no to the kids under a lot of circumstances.
Yeah.
They call you in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
They're in trouble. You're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it, and it's like, this is not going to work. And I went straight back, and that's how I started computer engineering, and then switched over to computer science masters and stuff, and started doing something totally different, because it's hard. And I'm a lot better at this now, but I still struggle with it, because it's hard to say, if you say yes to something that isn't your wife and family, you by necessity are saying no to them for that same amount of time.
Yes.
Right. So it got Lindsay's buy-in so we could like do this podcast and stuff. But I have become a lot more cognizant, like there's a certain amount of things to do because it builds relationships with people at work. And there's a certain amount of things you can do because this is something we're trying to do kind of as a ministry, but also it helps us. Ideally, this helps us be better husbands because we're reflecting on our faith and trying to bring people in on that and share. And but there's still a balance because you can do too much. So that's just something I'm trying to be really cognizant of. Yeah. And I didn't really get a lot better at saying no until I started working with Jamie, Jamie Karsten, who we work with at the office. He's really good at saying no. And so I've picked up some of that, and I'm a lot better at it because of his influence, but it's still a hard thing.
Yes, it is. It is.
So do you ever envision yourself maybe like not having as many units, and then once you become you can do all the electrician stuff on your own for like side money too, like to counteract some of that income you lose?
I have thought about that. Because honestly, the only reason I haven't taken any of my apprentice tests, because I'm already there on hours and everything, is just time.
Yeah.
I'll never downsize. Okay. I'll never downsize on rentals. I don't know if it's out of stubbornness or pride or whatever. I hope not, but
yeah,
I'm really doing this for my children. I will not be done and paid off for 15 to 20 more years.
Okay.
Which is totally normal.
Right. That is normal.
That's when do most people retire? That's the time.
Right.
The difference is I'll hopefully be able to retire and I can do whatever I want, because of the cash flow and everything. But
right.
I envision that, everything's in a trust. It's all very well structured.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just there's this safety net. I don't want my children to be, some freeloading losers because their parents work so hard,
Yeah.
And I was very much taught that from my parents.
Right.
So much so that I expect nothing from them. And again, they have their own rental properties. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing it for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
When you have, it's just amazing to me. I had no innate, I want children. It's just something, until I had my first one.
Yeah.
And then your entire life just changes. Your worldview, something clicked in me of, this is why I am alive, is to take care of these kids that I love so much.
Yeah.
A depth of love I didn't even know was possible, and
I was trying to explain to some friends who don't have kids and they're single.
I love my dog. It's like my kid.
I was telling them how, even reading books and watching movies, you view them differently after having kids and a family.
Yeah.
And how it changes everything. And they're jokingly was what was it like? Oh yeah, I can't wait to have kids and see how all my morals and worldview changes. I'm literally, that's what happened.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yes. You were talking to your buddy about Mr. Miracle.
Yeah, I was
which is our next
literally
book
that's
club.
What happens.
Next book club book. Yeah, and it's no, you were going to go through, and our last book club book, we were just talking about Misogi and going through an experience that's 50% failure rate.
Yeah.
Something dramatic.
When we did that half marathon 2 years ago,
that
was technically in Misogi. We challenged ourselves.
Yeah.
50 chance that we're going to do it, 50 chance we're going to fail.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if I'm doing the other one in a week.
But that first one is I'm doing this.
I'm doing it. Yeah.
And it was brutal. You suffered through it, and you expanded your boundaries of what I can do.
What you can achieve.
That's what a Misogi based off of.
And I think a lot of people, because of a lack of rites of passage or a lack of just being adolescent forever.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they don't ever encounter that thing, and then you have kids. That's a big 50-50. I mean, you can completely sink your entire life if you don't do this right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that you would bring up rites of passage, that's such in modern society, where are they?
I know.
They're gone. And that was such a formative, major thing in all of our culture, up until modern today.
He talks, this is the book, he talks about it at the end of that's
Yeah.
why he believes a lot of kids have anxiety and
Absolutely.
because they never had to go through these hardships to level up, right?
Imposter syndrome.
Modern societies, oh no, gays were always there, and it was always suppressed. We have so much more mental illness because of a lack of foundational family values and something tangible to grasp upon. I truly believe that. Just such a...
Which that's the problem creep, I think. He mentions that too,
Yeah.
So, which we talk about like first world problems, and then there are things that we feel are causing us lots of pain, stress, and just general horror.
Yeah.
But then, folks are getting murdered in Nigeria for being Christians.
We
or
have
something
no
else.
clue as modern.
Yeah.
We're blessed to be in the States. For
Right.
sure.
My biggest problem is I don't want to go mail a check to somebody because it's like, gosh, that's annoying. Why do I gotta mail you a check at 2026? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like we have no idea.
Yeah, we have no idea.
Yeah.
We have no idea. I was telling my son yesterday, because I took him to an apartment that was just completely destroyed, top to bottom. The rent's $400 and it has $6,000 worth of damage, and not that that's a common occurrence, but it's common enough to be very annoying.
Yeah.
But he said, "Oh, aren't you just so mad? Like, life isn't fair." And I said, "Son, thank God that life isn't fair, because we don't deserve anything that we have."
Yeah.
He's like, "What do you mean? Like, if life was fair, we would all go to hell, son." I don't know. And not to hit him, it's my oldest, so not to just hit him with this profound, like, what? But, with if life was fair, that's what we would deserve. So just take what we have and move on. So.
Which is good.
Yeah, and you've had that experience so many times on the rental side.
It's constant. I have 3 right now.
I know it still probably is like, what the hell? But also it's probably like, this doesn't faze me. Like, I've been through this so many times. So
you know me.
Yeah.
I get a little too emotional. But, that is something I've definitely had to work through with the counselor that I'll go see, because I will let it bother me so much of, how can these so-and-sos do this, and it's just a realization of people are fallen. We live in a fallen world, in a fallen society. Where shouldn't they feel bad? Shouldn't there be repercussions? Yes, but there's not, and they're not going to. And me dwelling on this, and I say this, and I don't practice it, but me dwelling on it isn't going to help me or hurt them.
Yeah.
It just steals from the present, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Or it's like drinking poison and expecting them to get hurt.
Exactly. That's
exactly
it.
It's really, really a lot easier to say than it is to practice, because I'm emotional, sentimental. Not so much in anger, but he knows. He has to put up with me being super sad all the time. I'm just like a melancholy kind of dude.
If you ever think about Rome, that's how you have to be, Constantinople.
Why?
Why?
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
So before we talk about that, because I think that was on the docket to maybe mention some Rome stuff, but. So you kind of mentioned a little bit of like what you're worried about the future, your future, what you want your kids' future to be like.
Yeah.
In the U.S. or maybe even the world, like, I don't know, your kids being your age, like, what worries you in the future?
Oh, you're prodding.
Now you're trying to hurt
One.
Islam is the greatest threat in my opinion
Yeah.
to modern Western society as a whole.
Yeah.
Again, are Muslims evil? No,
Right.
but the faith-based system that they ascribe to is from Satan. Um, you know, 100%. It is such a perversion of scripture, because it incorporates and steals from Judaism and Christianity both.
Mm-hmm.
And I've run into several
You've read the
Muslims.
Quran.
So
I've read lots of parts of it.
I've read lots of parts of it. There's supplementary portions called the hadiths
Hadiths,
that
yeah.
expound and kind of give them further context or laws, and it's such a crock.
Mm-hmm.
If a man, I would, they're not the same at all, but Mormonism, Islam, so blatantly man-made to fulfill the desires of men.
Yeah. Yeah, you always say like, Mormonism, like it's an American religion, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean it is, but like when you say it like that,
America's
it kind of makes more
religion.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they come to the party too late, in part, right?
Yeah.
The Islam's like 7th century. Mormonism is dramatically later than that.
Dramatically
It's
later.
like 19th century
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that. So the problem is it's so late to the game. You have too much documentation, and then in the case of Islam, I think the biggest problem for Islam is just the Islamic dilemma, which is in the Quran itself.
Yes.
And so the problem is, how is it that you have sections of the Quran that say, that the prior revelation was valid in the sense of the Old Testament and the New Testament, and the Quran also says that they're corrupted. So you can't trust the Old Testament and the New Testament or the Hebrew Bible and the Christian scriptures. And those things are both localized in the Quran. So because of this is just called the Islamic dilemma.
Yes.
And because that exists, it falls on its own face logically internally to itself, which is something that doesn't happen, like say in Christianity's exposition and adoption of the Hebrew Bible. It doesn't have the same problem because the Old Testament and New Testament throughout, everybody's just Jews.
Yeah.
Right? The whole time.
And everybody knows the law. Everybody knows where you're coming from. Yeah.
Like this goes to that point I mentioned about we talked about, does Paul actually convert, or is Paul just a Jew who adopts Christ as his Messiah instead of rejecting? The Islam has a internal to itself, the Islamic dilemma, and so Muslim apologists try and deal with that, but not very successfully because it's a real dilemma. So you have.
I didn't know that was that's what it's called.
That's called the Islamic
I didn't know it was a
dilemma.
name.
Yeah, because the reason it's a dilemma. There's only 2 options, right? And both options are bad, is what that means. Like if you take either option, it logically falls on its own merits. Yeah. So I don't really. I respect all the Muslim people I've ever met a lot. I've met people who were Muslim that were not actually Muslim, like party boy kind of guys. Yeah. But I've also met like really devout Muslim people that I really admire. But it's just one of those things that at the same time, it's just, it's too late to the game. The early idea of Islam was like they're calling it Mohammedism, right? Like it's really a Christian heresy. It's an adoption of a lot of Christian things with specific denials. God has no son, Christ wasn't crucified, somebody else was in his place, those sorts of things, right? And so the problem with the compatibility is, of course, if Christ isn't crucified, then Christianity is false, right? So our whole thing is hung on that historic event. Does Christ crucified? Did he come out of the tomb? We have extra biblical verification of the crucifixion. We don't have a better historical explanation for what's happened and where we are now than he left the tomb. So that's what the person who's doing a takedown on Christianity, they have to do that. And if they can't do that, then they have failed to meet the criteria of taking down Christianity, Catholicism in any flavor.
Yeah.
Whereas Islam has the Islamic dilemma, which is a logical fallacy in the scriptures. So it's one of those things where if you think that is if things have to be logical, right? So that Allah doesn't contradict himself or something like that in these two different sections. If
Right.
you believe that, then you just failed to meet your own criteria, because that's scriptural from their perspective, both
Yeah.
those ideas.
Yeah.
So that's what that's called.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, see, my concern isn't even on the religion level, just the fact that it doesn't seem like anywhere in the West it coexists well.
There's a compatibility issue.
Like, especially with our Constitution, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I see issues.
Yeah,
And
there's
it's concerning.
my main concern, and again, Islam is my main concern, but the blatant incompatibility. There is no question. If you ask a Muslim, would you follow the Quran or the Constitution? And they said the Quran. Well, then you say, well, Christians would say the same thing. The Constitution was written by primarily Christians, with those values and that worldview, and that is Christianity, Christendom. The Catholic Church is the reason for Western civilization.
Right.
It is the pillar, so totally incompatible. As we know, Islam is still to this day spread by the sword. The Middle East was all Christian for 1,000 years.
Yes.
Syria, Lebanon,
The Syriacs, yeah.
Iran, Iraq. There's
A fun AI experiment would be like, what if the Muslims founded the United States? What would it look like?
it would look like the Middle East. And it's interesting. I don't know that democracy can exist in a Sharia-led,
Yeah.
women, for all these liberals that, women have so much less rights.
Yeah, female thriving is only possible in a Christian world.
It really
right?
is.
I mean, I think we're seeing that now with all the Iran stuff, right? Like, there's no real democracy there right now.
Well, there never was.
Yeah.
I'm not at all connected to like news or anything like
Yeah.
that, but you're right. I mean, there's a really good book like the 1,000-Year Golden Age, The Lost History
Yes.
of Christianity. Have you read that book?
I've seen a synopsis.
Okay,
to
that's a
everything.
phenomenal book. It talks about the history of the Syriacs, and so there's of course, First Council of Nicaea. So these folks are Nestorians, or technically heretics, but they were very successful and were able to spread Christianity to the east all the way into China.
Yeah.
And this is something nobody
It's
ever
never
talks
talks.
about.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And so,
I like this guy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that blows my mind is because the narrative will always be even like the Crusades, like those evil Crusaders coming in on Muslim lands, unlike the fact that they're a defense action on lands that weren't Muslim lands to begin with, because they came out of the east into Jewish lands. Like the whole thing assumes a bunch of stuff, which is I hate Christians, so this is my argument, or
Yeah.
But if you go back, it doesn't really make any sense. When the Muslim rule, at least at the beginning, a lot of it was supplemented by Syriac court knowledge and knowledge of government. But the Muslims, the Arabs at the time, I guess I'll say Arabs because I think that's more accurate maybe at the time, relied on that Syriac knowledge to have their governments effectively work.
Yes.
Right. And then the Mongols come, and just about like the Islamic mega crisis is that Mongols almost completely eradicate them.
Yeah.
But then what happens is the Mongols end up siding. There is a specific Khan, and I forget which one, ends up preferring Muslim religion to Christian religion, and then the Syriacs end up getting it.
Yeah.
But that's all stuff that nobody ever talks about.
Ever.
They never talk about the Mongols. They never talk about the Huns. They never talk about anything which at various times that put like the whole known world into crisis.
Teetering on the brink.
Of
civilization collapsing again.
Right.
Yeah.
Because basically what happens in the first crusade is that it shocks everybody is like the Muslims have no idea why this is even happening. Basically as the Turks or as the Christians are going on like this pilgrimage to the Holy Land to try and recover the Holy Sepulchre. Yeah. And so they have like the big advantage that the Christian knights had was the Frankish charge, right? Having giant horses and lances, basically, and just running everybody over.
They had no defense.
There's no defense against. And so what happened, that's like the nuclear bomb of the time.
Yeah.
And that comes out of European warfare. But then we have these dudes on horses with bows. And that is a nuclear bomb that the Mongols almost kill everyone because they can shoot bows on horses. So it's like, I don't care about the lance, you'll never get to me, right? And so after that, it's crazy what happens after that.
I think, were they the biggest empire that was ever established as far as land area?
I'm not 100% sure, but it's very possible because they're all the way from Mongolia basically to Rome and then stopped.
Yeah.
For it's either a miracle or supplies or seasons or horses are no longer practical or there's a lot of different reasons that you would stop there. I'm Catholic, so I like the miracle explanation, but that's one of those things where it was certainly huge, and not the first time, like the Huns were super duper skinny, but they were threatening their territory north and south is not super big, but it spans all the way from Constantinople into Europe. Yeah. They're just pushing down.
Did we talk about that on one of our last episodes? Because I feel like you explained it in that same manner. Where it was kind of like they're all like highwaymen in that long area. They may not have been a part of the main, but they're all kind of like...
And getting tribute from all the different...
Yeah. That's the whole thing that the Huns' whole thing is, I don't really care to take your city, you're just going to pay me to walk outside your own walls. And so that was like Attila the Hun. I don't know if we talked about that or
somebody
if
I talked to about it. It had to be...
It was, I may have just been like going off about it because I was learning a whole bunch of cool stuff about like literature at the time and how Attila the Hun shows up and, the like German national epic. There's Attila the Hun is called Atli, and he's one of the characters in the Volsunga saga, which is kind of crazy. So it's just one of those things that just scarred the
collective memory
of Europe completely. It was Attila the Hun, and then the Mongols later. But it's just kind of like, I don't know. So all that history, nobody knows any of that. Nobody knows that Syriac relationship. Like there are people who truly believe that like the Quran had probably some Syriac liturgical documents as source material. I don't know that. I'm not even going to assert that.
Right.
But it's one of those things that there's some scholarship on that out there because the Syriacs were in that region, so there's opportunity. I don't really know, but one of the things is the Islamic dilemma is a real logical problem, and all this other history, there's just a lot of credence to some of those theories about where things come from.
Well, since you talked about Rome, so basically Kevin is like a huge RTS nerd. So
that makes sense.
That's kind of why I approached him in like 6th or 7th grade computer class because he was sitting off by himself in his trench coat.
I
was like, this kid seems dangerous.
That was before I became a Christian as well. So
and I was like, this. And
very school shooter vibes. I'm not gonna.
He thought I was gonna go postal because I had long hair and was wearing a leather jacket.
Same thing. I was like, weird thing. Yeah. The only reason I knew about you is because he walked by my cube and I saw him wearing his long hair and leather jacket at work, and he was talking about Command and Conquer. I'm like,
hey.
Oh, we're talking about Command and Conquer.
There you go.
Or Red Alert or something.
Yeah.
Kelley.
Red Alert.
He was looking at some Command and Conquer, Red Alert stuff on his computer, and I was like, I play those games. I'm gonna go talk to him.
So that's how you get Kevin's attention. You look like a really dangerous guy.
But he's like an RTS super nerd. StarCraft, Command and Conquer, Red Alert, Rome Total War.
Lots of thousands of hours wasted. I still do it to this day.
You must construct additional pylons.
That's right.
Yeah. Additional pylons.
So, it seems like Rome is one of your favorite things in past history. Why is that?
So, I think within Protestants, the role of the church, meaning Catholics, is so marginalized. We don't acknowledge it. We don't talk about it. But the church has had is the foundational reason that Christianity has survived, that history has survived, that we have any documentation of almost anything is because Catholics wrote it down. I think the Dark Ages, that's in modern history and everything, is not necessarily recognized as Dark Ages.
Right, maybe not the most accurate term.
Right,
yeah.
but
right.
the foundational just ramifications of having the church there is what has allowed Western civilization to survive, thrive, and grow.
Yeah.
And it's so vilified, and it really shouldn't be.
Yeah.
A good example, a good parallel is in not everybody like this, but America has just totally destroyed all the Indians and were evil, and they were fighting each other. They were doing
The whole
horrible.
colonizer type of
Yes, the
derogatory
colonizer
term. Yeah.
derogatory term that has been applied to Christianity as a whole.
I think that's one of the biggest historical faux pas that's ever been committed, is applying that to the Crusaders.
Yes.
Because the concept of nationalism or of nations didn't even really exist at that time.
Yes.
So there is no Crusader colonizing. These are folks who envision themselves as going on a pilgrimage to the Holy Sepulchre, well armed, because
they have to be.
They have to be if they're going to make it.
Yeah.
And I think you probably only have Europe exist to the point where we get the scientific revolution and those things actually bud out of the European culture, probably because Crusades happened to slow the spread of Islam to the West.
Yeah.
I mean, Muslims had conquered Spain. They were at Constantinople's doorstep, right? They basically, Constantinople's emperors basically had to make treaties with, I think it was Isaac II and Saladin, had to make treaties because they're already there.
Yeah.
And Muslims make it all the way to Hungary, actually, at one point in time. So there's the spread, the conquering spread is just historical fact, right?
Yes.
So people just don't like to talk about that in certain ways. And I want to be super clear, because I don't like to demean people. A lot of us don't do that. And that's the main complaint that I have, right? Our own culture, we don't value for whatever reason. We undermine our own culture all the time.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, is the biggest tragedy. Is you can't just see the good for what it is, because it's too hard to be, the call to be moral is too hard, or we have this really upside down, topsy-turvy sense of what freedom is, right? Because real freedom is the ability to do what you ought to do, right?
Not what you want
Not what you want to do.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think that's a big distinction between how most liberals think and what we would define freedom as. If you don't have the freedom to go to mass, or you don't have the freedom to go to just to church service, or you don't have the freedom to raise your kids or teach your kids the way that you want to teach, that is the lack of freedom. It's the freedom to be able to masturbate wherever I want, or parade around naked, or anything like those sorts of things is not really freedom. It's slavery to vice. It's how we would define it, right? You think that you need this tells me that your mind is enslaved to a vice, instead of having a concern for more of what might build up the community as a whole. And so that's, I don't say that targeted at any specific group. It's just as much that the idea is, I think there's a large distinction to freedom to do what you ought to do, versus freedom to do what you want to do. There's dramatically different things. Yeah.
And growing up in Weatherford, obviously there's not many Catholics, so
it's one Catholic church.
Yeah.
St. Eugene.
Very tiny.
Yeah.
Rarely fills up.
Yeah.
How much, the older you've gotten, have you, I guess, viewed Catholicism in a different light, or
much more favorably?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you now. And I'm going to be honest. A large part of that was initially, you and just a handful of other people we graduated with were the only Catholics I knew.
Yeah, and you suck.
You did. I mean, I don't know what else to say. You weren't exactly, Christ's second coming or anything like that. No, you were just a normal guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? And when I was in those formative years of becoming a Christian, I think you remember, I was just very invested.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to learn, I'm going to read, I'm going to, I want to know more about this. And then I would ask you some questions. Well, why do Catholics pray this? I don't know.
That's the whole framing of this podcast is cradle Catholic versus convert in a sense.
Yeah.
So I had to go through all that.
I view Catholicism in a much better light.
Yeah.
Because the more you learn, the more you have to.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a evangelical Christian, that's a strange thing to say, but the church has been so demonized. When the pedophile stuff came out, we were young, and that was all over the news.
All anybody wanted to talk
was
about.
like peak that.
Every Catholic priest is a pedophile. Every Catholic's a pedophile. No,
I have many liberal friends who still think and say that out loud all the time.
That's one of the big, there's a good book, the same guy who wrote that Lost History of Christianity, 1,000-Year Golden Age, which I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name, but he also wrote the new Anti-Catholicism. And the subtitle of that book is The Last Acceptable Prejudice.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and it's true because you can belittle or you can have people dress up as nuns and perform,
and it's totally
and
okay.
Like that. That's totally fine.
That's a good distinction. Not to circle back around, but Islam versus Christianity. If I were to show a picture of Muhammad,
which we won't do on this.
We won't do, but there could be a call. Some imam could say that person needs to die. And there's a good chance that some Muslim could come and try to kill me.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. The ability to belittle the church now, with no regard of any type of moral, it's a tragedy. Yeah. It is a modern day tragedy. Again, the church, and not always in the best way, but I would say the church has spread and sent the word to all the corners of the earth.
Yeah. And
the priests that did that, they did not go saying, I'm going to go and give these kids smallpox. I need to tell you about Christ.
Right.
You need to have everlasting life. And that's the only reason I'm alive, and that's what I've been trained for. All the pastors I know of, evangelicals, they go to church and they've been to Bible schools and stuff, but not 100%. Catholic priests receive a lot of training,
major amounts of education,
and that's never talked about outside of Catholicism, I assume.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
get your philosophy degree before you can do your theology degree. You go to school as long as an MD does.
Yes,
basically.
Yeah,
yeah,
you are a doctor.
Massive,
yeah. And that's never talked about. So I really feel like I kind of lost my train of thought, but the church as a whole is a great institution.
Yeah.
Still to this day, you guys are my brothers in Christ. Nothing else.
Right.
You're not Mormons. You're not. Jesus is what it's about. Salvation through him and him alone. So,
did you ever have any mentorship or adults that you looked up to in your Protestant churches that had negative views of Catholicism and like influenced that at all? Because every year I went to Falls Creek, at least one point in time every year, there'd be one counselor that pulled me aside and be like, "Hey, I'm concerned." I'm like,
"Don't be Catholic." Yeah. So
it always happened. Like no matter what.
I think that Protestants view
friendly fire.
Protestants view a lot of the things that you do as ancillary.
Ancillary.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
And I hold that viewpoint. As far as I don't need Mary to pray for me. I've got Christ. That's for me. Like, hey, I'm so glad that Christ was born to a virgin. I totally believe that. That is a miracle.
Yeah.
She's just another woman. Like, that's my firmly held viewpoint, and it might change, but again, not that is necessarily some foundational have to thing with Catholics either,
Yeah.
But
I respect the fact that you know that, and you said ask, pray for, not the whole the
I'm worshiping,
right,
yes,
the red herring type
Yeah.
straw
yes,
man. Yeah,
yes.
that's right. I just kicked the computer.
I think it's good.
So those type of, particularly with the saints and everything, I think that their achievements should be acknowledged. But again, as far as what I've been taught in my belief system, everything is to Christ. Everything, the glory is to Christ. Then you kind of get into, if you take it too far, you get into like a Calvinism versus Arminianism type of thing. Well, everything's predestined so that God gets all the glory. And
Right.
I'm not,
Those are all too rigid.
those are all
that stuff is.
it's too rigid.
If you can do a systematic theology and put all of God and all of religion into a systematic theology, then you don't understand it.
Yes.
All you've proven is that you do not understand it.
Calvinism
God
is the one where it's like only this number of people get in, right?
Well,
or is that
No.
it's that,
You
There's
think
one of those.
Jehovah's Witnesses has
Jehovah's
a
Witnesses.
specific
Okay.
number.
yeah. Calvinism is that you were going to be a Christian no matter what, because that's what God
one
decided.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has a version of predestination that the Catholic Church rejects because it's like the double predestination. There's predestined to heaven and predestined to hell, and the
Yeah.
Catholic
Free will
Church
doesn't matter on Calvinism.
the Catholic Church rejects it because of the double nature
Yes.
of the predestination.
Yes.
It doesn't accept that.
I see.
Yeah.
And I agree with the church's viewpoint on that.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. You have to have free will.
Yeah.
I mean, we experience free will. So to me, I always get really annoyed.
How
at
how
that
can you
argument.
believe that? Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I understand you have, again, this nice systematic breakdown
Yeah.
of why we don't have free will that I'm reading. And I think quantum mechanics eradicates all of those, basically, because most of those came in a classical physics era. But when you go look at it, it's like, okay, this is a nice, tight thing. What am I going to eat for breakfast?
Yeah.
And I'm going to go choose that, right? And then
Yeah.
they'll have to say, well, you didn't really have a choice. And I'm like, there's more than one thing in here.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the burden of proof that you don't have free will is too high.
I find
Experience
it's all irrelevant. It's not
Yep.
adding.
No, it's
It's too deep, too
Yep.
speculative.
Yep.
It does not, make you closer to Christ thinking that with that train of thought. It's not going to help you want to go and evangelize anybody.
no.
You
And,
know.
and that's ultimately why I'm not an apologist, actually, is because there's too much. You have to get into those weeds so much, and it's like this is not important,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It really, for me, it usually comes down to if you can recite the Apostles' Creed, we have enough agreement that I don't need to talk about any of the other stuff for us to function,
Yeah.
as brothers in arms,
Yeah.
or to go out and try and help people.
Yeah. Yes.
That's kind of it. If you can't say that, then I'm like, okay, this is fractured so far off that,
That we need
we're
to-
not the same thing
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean, honestly, at the same time, doesn't mean we can't go help people.
Right.
But that's when you kind of have to draw the line on something. It should be that.
Yeah.
Is typically what people will go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say it's probably very typical for any cradle Catholic that grows up in a small town to not know a ton because
Of course.
framework is there's so much there.
Yeah.
Like Mary, she's 4 at her school, at the Catholic school, and they're already teaching the kids like what everything means on the altar and everything. I'm like, I didn't learn that until I was 16.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm very
At your
envious.
confirmation class.
Yeah,
right.
I'm so jealous that she's like learning this at such
Yeah.
a young age. I'm just like, man, it really helps being integrated into a full
Yeah.
community.
Right.
I mean, we had adults that did Sunday school, and they did their best. Yeah,
Right.
I'm glad they did.
Right.
But even then, like, it's just hard.
Well-
But it also doesn't help I'm a bad student, too. So.
Well, and folks that grew up in the 60s and 70s in the U.S. didn't get a real orthodox catechesis, and then they tried to teach you as best they could. So the generation of folks growing now, like my wife and I were catechists, and so we were teaching and we were working with Nelda, who was I loved dearly. She was helping us, and we were kind of trying to help take over some for her because she was getting older and ready to kind of pass the torch to someone else. But we were taking the kids from the very beginning when they were in RE and like trying to help people. Here's how you show reverence in the church, and this is why we genuflect, and it's called genuflecting, and going through that. Here's the things on the altar. This is what the colors the priests wear mean, because there's meaning in everything.
Yes.
You got 2,000 years that then is actually viewed as a fulfillment of even thousands of years before that. All that symbolism is coming up here, and then you live in a world that doesn't think symbolically at all. Think of time in a line, and we think, how can I proof text my ideas based on some scientific study versus some, what I would argue is scientific observation of human behavior that was condensed into wisdom
Yes.
and written down. To me, that's also science. That was just the science of that era, because it's all based on observation.
Right.
And the measurement is the end of that person, right? The measurement is the ends of a collection of people. That, like, how many people who act like this had a bad ending
Have this result, yes.
these guys have a good ending. That doesn't mean everybody does, but we're taking measurements, right? Is sort of the idea, and then that kind of condenses into wisdom, and then we just throw all that out for what I can measure in a beaker to make a thing that someone will buy, and now I have money, and then I'm on crack or whatever, because that's just what we do.
Yeah.
And it just kind of drives me nuts, just like over the development of history. It's like, why are there all these like false fights? Like, it's just faith versus reason, faith versus works.
Yeah.
It's like all those things. It's like we'll make so much of that fight when really we all need to live faithfully and we all need to have faith in Christ. Good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
Yes, absolutely.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
And it just drives me nuts that people get all hung up on that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you made a good argument about it last time we talked about this on the podcast of like, yeah, you can say you love your wife all day in public, but if you go home and beat her,
you don't.
no. So
You
therefore,
don't.
like,
Yeah.
they're tied together.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the case, man.
And so I'm asking Ryder this more than anything. So does this stem from like the split from the Catholic Church over generations? But like in early Americas, why was there so much, I guess, like hate towards the Catholics? Like, I think Maryland was the only state Catholics could live in. And you had JFK trying to be president. It's like, oh no, the Catholic president.
Maryland.
Yeah,
Just
like
Maryland. Literally Maryland.
So like, where does that all stem from? Just old roots of the split, or?
I mean, there's compounding factors, because most of the people that moved to the United States were also, they thought that the Anglicans weren't serious enough. Like there were splits off of splits already.
Yes.
So that's why you will have the dual histories of the United States, where you have like the Spanish coming into Florida, and the whole dang thing from here all the way up to Canada is just Florida, right? Like when they land, St. Augustine, Florida, or Augustine. So there's that history. But then the one that we kind of pose our national identity on is the Puritan, like Plymouth Rock landing, But these folks are Puritans; they're not Anglicans.
Yeah.
So depending on where you want to draw your chalk lines, they're already very heterodox to begin with, because they're like multi-branches removed from. It's not even just a dispute over divorce or a dispute over.
Very much removed,
Right, very much removed from Catholicism by that time. So I don't know if I can get a more specific answer to your question than that at this point, but I think it's kind of interesting to point out that the history of the United States has more than one starting point. Like in the history of the American South is 150 years older from something like that, from the Spanish landing, so it's, what is the history of America is a contentious thing to argue, I would even just say that.
What are your current thoughts on the current Pope? Or have you read much of his stuff yet?
I liked him. He's better than the last one.
That's kind of how I am. Right?
Yeah. Whenever I ask someone the question, that's actually what they always say.
Yeah. I really, when the last,
unbiased, because he's nothing
right.
to do with American.
when the last Pope initially began, I was very hopeful.
Yeah.
I really liked how he started out.
Pope Francis.
Yes,
just
Pope
to make
Francis.
It clear,
And what is it, Leo now?
Yeah. Leo the 14th.
Leo, again, his papacy is in its infancy, so
That's
we'll have
true.
to see how it develops. But you know, what was it? He said something about the erosion of free speech or something like that. That's the only highlight that I've seen.
Okay.
I totally like that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a truth, and
Yep. He's big on AI awareness. He took the name Leo the 14th because I think very rightly identified this as another major industrial revolution moment.
It
And Leo
is.
the
It
13th
is.
was the Pope at that
That
time
time.
for the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
So that's why he chose the name.
Yeah.
So I'd add that because we might be able to do something with the AI flavor of the conversation too. But I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
but
you're
just
good.
to kind of share that,
Yeah.
why he took that name.
So, you know, and that's my extent of anything with him.
Yeah.
He's American. You know.
I love the Duh Pope shirt. Because it's just he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
So he's like Duh Pope.
Yeah,
Duh
Duh Pope.
I just
Duh Bears.
Katie
Yes.
got me a sticker of him wearing like the beer helmet with like a hot
Yeah.
dog and something
Yeah.
else in Chicago and a Chicago pizza, I think.
I was so shocked to have an American Pope. My wife and I are like watching that, and with the kids, and we're like, who's it going to be?
Yeah.
Is that we're going to have our first black Pope, or are we going to go way off to? I think there was a Pope, I forget his name, or a candidate who was Asian that was considered pretty left of center. And I was just trying to figure out, who's it going to be? Because you don't know. You have no idea, ultimately. And then it came out, and like nobody predicted that they would go with an American Pope. But he has so much experience in South America too. That makes a lot of sense. You got North and South America, so he's got a lot of experience in the global North and global South, which is a bigger divide than a lot of other ones in terms of how people live and see the world. And so I thought that ended up being a very, I think, good choice. He's 70, so he's younger, around about 70. So I'm pretty hopeful, but I guess that just depends if Trump doesn't bomb him first, right? Because I keep getting sent pictures of, did the president just threaten to bomb the Vatican? And I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is real or not, but maybe.
What was your opinion on that note of, you had sent me something about him, praise Allah or whatever.
The Easter tweet. We should have talked about the Easter tweet on the Easter episode.
And to be clear, Trump's voter here, but yeah, it was very out of touch and like.
What is going on?
He probably needs to have like a timer set of like where you can take back the tweet before he sends it.
I mean, I was extremely disappointed in that.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Trump fan.
I think all of us are very reasonable about it. Kevin just likes to trigger people.
Yeah.
We're all very reasonable about
Yeah.
Trump or no Trump. Like, we're not crazy.
Right.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. You're absolutely right. He needs to have somebody moderate him. And I think his efficacy would be much higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of, like, how do you feel about all this Iran stuff right now?
We should not be at war. I'm tired. I haven't grown up in an America that's not and I'm not communist, okay? Democracy is the best. It's not perfect, but it is the best system.
It's the best we've come up with.
It is the best system we've ever come up with.
Unfortunately, it always kills itself, basically.
It does.
The people get...
Yeah. It does.
Hence us not being a true one, right? Constitutional republic, but...
Yeah.
It's going to kill itself as well, I'm afraid, but keep going.
No, so, I mean, why are we at war with Iran?
I know.
I feel like us millennials are very annoyed at the Middle East because, like, we've been involved our whole life.
Our entire life.
We're over it.
And I'm more conspiracy theory than I've ever been.
Well, and we are all from the American South, and I'm, as much as the ideology of like the Confederacy still lives in terms of its like constitutional view.
Yeah.
This culture is typically more, at least natively, more isolationist because of stuff like that.
Yes.
It's like we don't really want to go.
I don't want to be involved. Yeah.
And that's kind of native. That's local to how we think. That's in the ground here.
Yeah.
And so it's understandable why we would be annoyed. I mean, we have some amount of that in our regional history, and regions are all that really in my opinion, regions are all that really matter.
Yeah.
It's because it's from the ground up. That's like the subsidiarity principle of the Catholic Church. You
Yeah.
know, the local thing is the more important thing. The only things that go up from that are the things that must, right?
Yes.
Like that can't be done locally.
Yeah.
And which is super Southern, right? And
Yeah.
you know, and very 1776 Constitution
Yeah.
as well. But that's not the way America operates.
Not
That's
at all.
been changed. So you go back to 1776, hit these marks throughout history. Well, we don't actually live in that, and we never did. Like we didn't. You know, it was
Right.
already been morphed so many times.
Right.
You know, the idea of property tax and us never owning our own stuff, and we would have literally killed people in 1776.
Yes, we
over
would
that,
have.
literally,
Absolutely.
and we would have been justified
Yeah.
in our own mind for
Yeah.
doing that.
People don't realize over how little of a thing in the scheme of everything we fought the American Revolution.
Yeah,
And that it was to pay for a war to defend the colonies. I mean, you know, maybe
yep.
maybe we would have been better as a British subject. I don't know. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been.
I'm going to pull out the G.K. Chesterton again because you still haven't read any G.K.
Yeah.
Chesterton, but I actually read.
Do you know who that is?
It's an author. I haven't.
Yeah,
Tell us who it is
So
briefly.
G.K. Chesterton,
Because no one
was-
really knows.
Everybody knows. So G.K. Chesterton was a predecessor in terms of time to C.S. Lewis
Okay.
and also Tolkien. So he was kind of the end of the 19th century.
Yeah.
Incredibly brilliant. Just his wit is unbelievable. So if you just like go start reading some G.K. Chesterton, you know, orthodoxy, he converted to Catholicism, but he wasn't born a Catholic. He was in more of the Anglican realm, but he wrote Orthodoxy and Heretics and The Everlasting Man, and also the Father Brown Mysteries. He was very prolific. So he was fiction, nonfiction, articles, essays, all kinds of stuff. Extremely smart. And he had, and I'm trying to remember because I read so many of his books right on top of each other. It could be What I Saw in America, where he wrote this. I think that's probably what it was because he visited America. He actually visited Oklahoma, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But so anyway, he basically had written that the South has, at the loss of the South, he stated that it's over. Slavery is a great evil, but it's by no means clear that the better side won, right? Because the difference in the industrialization of the North. People like Chesterton were opposed to the dehumanizing industrial factory culture that was emerging.
Yeah.
And so the South was opposed to that. And so he's like, it's by no means clear that the better side won, right? And the people in the South were more favored by conservative folks who preferred a more rural agriculture-based life. That does not mean anybody likes slavery. So you always have to say that, and it gets super annoying because you do have to say that.
Have to say that.
Slavery, chattel slavery is like one of, if not the greatest evil that there ever has been. Maybe the dropping of the atomic bomb is arguably, like, that's where you're going to have arguments. It's like something that horrible. So just putting all that aside, the ideology of the people in the South is much more in line with a natural way of human living, which is why people read Wendell Berry and then they start smoking tobacco out of pipes and they go out there and start digging furrows in their front lawn because that's all they got, you know. But there's something that we lost at the end of the Civil War slowly, you know, over time. So that's just, I guess, the point being the evolution of America. There's a lot that's changed, and we don't particularly want to be at war with Iran. We don't, because there's a lot of people who still just wish we could live a Southern lifestyle, minus the slavery, and not have to care anything at all about the federal government or either coast, because I literally don't care. Right? You guys do what you want. It's the way it's supposed to be. You guys do what you want. We'll do what we want. Regions are all that matter. But people hate that. People
that ties
want to
into
control
what we talked about before, the different versions of America.
Yeah.
So like 1.0, 1776, 2.0 is Civil War,
Yeah.
3.0 is post World War II.
Yeah.
Then 4.0, in my opinion, is COVID/9/11. Just flips that time frame.
Because because 9/11 is Patriot Act, so that's dramatically different than
Oh.
anything you would have ever gotten.
Yes.
So that's I think you can argue there's a 4.0. There's at least 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think you can argue that there's a 4.0 because of that. Yeah. So we think about we kind of pontificate about stuff like that, and really, it's like I said, you have to do the best with what you receive,
With what you have,
and that can be Protestantism, it can be Catholicism, it can be Islam, like whatever it is that you receive, you need to go do the good with it.
Yeah.
That's kind of the ultimate charge I have for people. It's like I'm not a proselytizer. It's like I'm not here trying to force you to convert because of the Islamic dilemma or forcing you to convert because atheism. Well, or I'm not asking you to.
We were arguing about if this should be keep or
make America Catholic again.
And I was like, well, technically it wasn't. And he was like, well, the Spanish in Florida. I was like, oh,
see,
right.
Yeah. At what stage do you consider America having started?
Yeah, that's right. So that's the contention, right? And it's not 1776 versus 1619. It's like 1776 versus 15 something.
Yeah.
Even before that, right? Is it the Spanish or the English? So I think that ultimately it just kind of comes down to we all are living in the world that we received because of all the stuff that has already happened, and so the main goal is how do we live with each other without killing each other the way that we used to, and that's not a solved problem.
Yeah,
it's not a settled question. So we'll just kind of have to see, where that's what we're living in. If that Team America World Police is still happening,
very prominent.
Yeah. That's kind of something's going on. Well, we're about to show up because World Police, and a lot of us don't like that anymore because food costs too much. I mean, that was a big shock when we moved to Japan and then came back because the food prices in Japan were going up a little. Food prices here went up a lot. I came back and I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And I had like reverse culture shock. But that's really, you have people who have kind of lost their ever living mind. And there's more of those because I think of the lack of rites of passage, social media. And you can use the terms misinformation, disinformation. It doesn't even really matter. It's just the fact that the access to too much information that I think overloads the human brain.
Yeah.
Just period. So people behave in really bad ways because of that sort of mental strain.
Yeah.
And that's the world we're living in. The way that we have to try and solve that's going to get dicey, I think, is my kind of general feeling. I wish I had a good answer, but I really don't. If we had more people that were dedicated to the middle path of, I guess that's one common thing across all religions and philosophies. There's that narrow way. You may call it the narrow way, or you may call it the middle way between like the two extremes. We got to try and meet in those places so that we can have dialogue from there, as much as possible. But that's really hard to do. I mean, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
People don't want to do that.
No.
So that's tough.
Being a huge fan of Rome, why have you never been?
I don't have the money.
Or the time. We were just talking about the economy.
It's time.
Yeah.
It's a time thing, 100%. Since we've been sitting here, I probably have gotten 50 text messages.
Yeah.
My phone's never stopped vibrating.
Have you ever thought about just throwing it down on the ground and
All
shooting
the time,
it?
all the time. And people ask me, why don't you hire a manager? I'm like, that's 15% to have somebody sit in a desk and call a plumber. No, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day.
One day.
Okay.
But no, I'd love to go 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, that's
We're going this summer. I mean, we may not make it to Rome, but
you're gonna go see family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we have time, we may make it down there, but I doubt it.
And
from the videos I've seen lately,
it's
I'm
horrible.
like, I don't want to go.
It's horrible.
Just because the traffic.
Foreigners.
People in the street.
It's Islam. I'm gonna say it.
You have a lot of Afrikaners, all these people like harassing tourists or to sell stuff. I'm like, this is not the Rome I remember when I was 9.
The rape statistics in all of Europe have gone up like 3,000%.
Yeah.
You might have to censor that word, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you can say that.
Okay. Yeah. So, and that's, I am not one to, I have a very negative outlook on Islam.
Yeah.
Just extreme. Just based off of facts. And I think, again, my viewpoints on the church as a whole have come as I've learned more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing. As I learn more about Catholicism, I like Catholicism more and more.
Yep.
As I learn more about Islam, the more I think, God, this is just inherently evil.
Yeah.
More than we're ever taught or allowed to say or acknowledge. So.
Yeah, I mean, I am concerned going to Italy, but I think northern Italy is okay.
Well, that's the most conservative part of the whole country.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's what's left, You go in the south, man, I wouldn't even live there. I can't imagine what Sicily's like.
When we went in 2017, we did go to Pisa and Florence, and I remember in Pisa, we were bugged a lot by people that were not Italian.
It's constant.
Be like, hey, buy this, like, just leave us alone. And from the videos I've seen in Paris and in Rome, it's bad. Especially around the Colosseum.
It just reminds me of going to Muscle Beach, too. People trying to flip that mixtape, dude.
Yeah.
I sent you that. Remember I sent you that meme about flipping the mixtape? That's why I sent it to you, because it
constant.
Just reminded me of it. Yeah. What's that movie with Chris Rock and Bernie Mac, like President of the United States or something?
I haven't seen it.
So Chris Rock becomes the president, and his vice president is a bail bondsman that he chose as his running mate, who is Bernie Mac. So this dude comes up trying to sell Bernie Mac his mixtape, and he double hand slaps the dude in the face. I mean, it's like whack whack, and it just. Now when I think about people trying to flip their mixtape, I'm always thinking about that scene.
That's fine.
Bernie Mac, man, he made me laugh.
When you say black president, all I thought of was like Idiocracy.
Oh, dude,
that's a good movie.
Mountain Dew,
That's a
President
good
Mountain
movie.
Dew Camacho,
Yeah.
was a respectable man.
No,
Got what plants crave.
I made Katie.
Yeah.
I made Katie watch that, and she was like, "This isn't gonna look good." I'm like, "It's goofy, but there's a point."
There's a point, and it is a good point.
Yeah.
It is. I like that.
And it always reminds me of the book Jihad versus McWorld, because I think a lot of our incompatibility comes to that. Because it's not like, I always made fun of Sam Harris for writing the book Letter to a Christian Nation. And I'm like, are we really? There's a lot more people take Christianity a lot more seriously in the U.S. than they do in Europe. But are we really a Christian nation? Because I just got done complaining about how we don't actually observe most of our Christian holidays, right? Yeah. We have our own civic holidays.
It's the one that you can mock in public and there's no repercussions because that's the way we are.
I mean,
but any other faith,
we were told that would happen, right? That's all a fulfillment of Scripture.
Yeah,
that's
true.
It is. It doesn't mean it doesn't sting. But we're not gonna go kill you.
Yeah.
So.
And earlier I meant to say this when we were talking about Catholic Church, helping keep some of the history, and then Europe. I cannot stand when I hear people say there's no such thing as white culture. Does that not just
that would be a whole other episode, I would say.
Oh, for sure. It's one of those things like I blue screen to death in my head. I'm like,
well, it's interesting, almost the parallel of, again, Jesus was a Jew. He wasn't some white dude.
Right.
But the erosion of Christianity and then the erosion of, and again, you say white culture, Italian, Spanish, Polish, English, French. how dare you compartmentalize
Right.
the most successful,
Yeah.
democratic, uplifting. Europe uplifted the world, including where we're sitting now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, the Western culture became I think this is what people don't like, I think, is that the Western culture, the grow out of Europe, became the global culture. Everybody dresses like us,
yes.
right? Everybody has to do what we do in some extent, or either
Well,
by force or not.
You know, who do we have to thank for the end of slavery? Not the United States, Britain.
Britain,
Britain,
yeah,
at tremendous financial and life cost.
William Wilberforce,
Yeah.
yeah,
And again, who started most of the global slave trade?
yeah.
Islam. It's still there. There's still slavery, modern day slavery in Arabia, and it's not talked about, you know.
I mean, you hear about the stuff in Africa with all the mineral mining and
Yeah.
I actually cringe when I see diamond billboards.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, because I'm like, because here's the thing about that. One of the things that husbands are supposed to do is give their wives gifts,
Mhm.
right? And I kind of make the joke, but it's like you decorate your wife with these nice things, and it makes she feels nice, you feel nice because you did that thing.
Mhm.
But it's like the whole natural diamond thing comes up. I'm like, did I just put a blood diamond on my wife? You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm a Christian,
Yeah.
and this is a
That's
useless
anathema
thing.
to everything that I hold. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
so part of me is like, well, my wife deserves jewelry and deserves nice things, and I'm like,
now we got lab diamonds, bro. You're good.
You can't tell the difference.
yeah, that's true. But the thing, the lab diamonds are also anathema to my southern mind.
Yeah.
Not so much my Christian mind, but
Yeah.
my southern mind is like, that's not real.
Real.
Yeah. So there's something that, yeah, that's just hard. Is my point. It's like I want to
Yeah.
do really nice things for my wife, but at the same time, like I can't really justify buying diamonds because they're useless.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
And
They're
people
useless.
die
Yeah.
over this, you
Yeah.
know, other than to maybe put on a blade so it can cut something. But like in
Yeah.
general, they're useless.
They're useless.
But that's a struggle.
Yeah.
And the whole thing's a struggle. And I want to be fair too. It's something that just came into my mind. I remember when we were studying arts and culture, there was a time, Islamic Golden Age.
Yes.
They have
knowledge and
you
Yes.
have like Avicenna, Averroes, Rumi, the invention of the concept of the number zero. There's a lot of things that Islamic culture has done
and given to the world.
and given to the world that are beautiful
Yes.
things. But I also understand the fear of being, your culture kind of being eradicated because of the weaknesses of the democracy's weakness is when you stand up democracy, you have to do like the Greeks. They had rules for who can vote,
Yeah.
and so you had, citizens. It made sense to them that it would be a democracy of the voting of the citizens, but slaves aren't citizens, right? So then when democracy is born in Greece, and this is the idea, these people are not people. They're not citizens. You're citizens. You get to vote. Well, horribly, we kind of carried that same kind of idea into the United States to some extent, So we have, the 3/5 compromise and all these things that start to amass as black people start to get rights over time, and as they should. And it should have been easier than that, but it was one of those things where when you restrict who can vote, you have the problem that everybody starts to kind of do the outcry. It's not fair. Why can't women vote? Why can't people who can't afford property vote? But by spreading the vote out to everybody, then you have like this balance line that you cross, and now you have mob rule.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's things built into the government to try and stop that. The Senate,
Mhm.
the Electoral College, like there's different things like that. But the mob wants those things to go away because the mob wants to rule, which is a tyranny of many.
Yes.
And so what'll happen is then the cycle of rulers, right, the cycle of governments will kind of turn at some point in time, and it's inevitable. Like
Yeah.
because there's something about it that cries out to us. It is unjust that these people don't have a say for whatever reason.
Right.
But as soon as you give everybody a say, my cousin has a saying, really, that the average, imagine the average person, and half of all people are dumber than that guy.
Yes.
Which is super mean. But
Yeah,
but there's but when
true.
you cast the vote out across the whole thing, you don't land on the high scoring part of the bell curve.
Yeah.
Right? You land in the middle or worse. And so it's a challenge because not all ideas are equal, not all worldviews are equal, not all cultures are equal. Some things are better than other things. And we, in our pluralist society, especially among liberal pluralists, because they don't want to make that kind of a judgment between things. The judgment will eventually make you, right? As you get too comfortable, comfort crisis, you won't make the decisions you need to make for your culture to thrive. You're just going to get selfish and sit on your couch drinking bowls of wine like the cows of Bashan, or the heifers, as I like to call them, in Amos, right? They're just sitting around drinking bowls of wine. That's the image of Israel before the Assyrians take them,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the same. These patterns repeat. There's cycles,
again and again.
and you will find yourself in one of these roles, and we don't understand myth. We don't understand any of the archetypal knowledge that we should know. And it's like, which role am I occupying in this story right now? Because this story is playing out.
Mm.
And so if I find myself in the villain seat, or if I find myself in I'm the witch in Snow White right now, you should be trying to understand that and assess whether or not you're living with wisdom, because that's kind of where your vulnerability comes in. Not having a lot of kids is, it turns out, a very stupid thing to do.
Mm.
And you can only have as many kids as you and your specific spouse can manage, right, for various reasons. But at the same time, if most people aren't having kids, and then I can have 4, but then our health starts to fail because it's just too much, right? Which is kind of where we're at. That's not enough. I can't have the kids for everybody.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the kids, then you might as well just lay your whole way of being down to die.
Because it's gone.
Right. And there's different views on that even. So is it better is it survival of the fittest even among cultures? Or do you take a conservationist cultural approach like you do with animals, right? The same people tend to have that conflicting point in their worldview. It's like, well, whichever culture thrives, that's the one that deserves to live, but also don't let the animals go extinct.
Mm.
I'd ask you to be consistent, and among those two things,
Yeah.
So that's a lot to think about. It's all historical, and none of that has to do with individual people, but it's and then the beliefs of individual people, but this is the way that the trends kind of go, right? Yeah, it's a lot to reflect on. I've talked a lot, so I'll wait.
This is what he does, though, so I enjoy it.
No, yeah, I mean, it's been good. Where are we at?
11:30. We should probably tie it up.
Okay.
The funeral's not till 2, so I do have time. But
I gotta
no,
leave at noon.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for coming.
I really enjoyed it.
I did
really
too.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to be able to talk about this stuff in a civil manner. Not that we won't get any views because we didn't fight and throw stuff and
yeah, that's how that works. Yeah. No, it was good.
okay.
It was great.
Second interview down. I think it was good.
Yeah.
Is there any other closing things you can say?
I don't know that I have any other final thoughts. I think the big thing, if I were going to say just one thing, is, we have a responsibility as humans to not just grow in knowledge, but also to grow in virtue. And that's my main challenge for everybody of any color, shade, cloth, creed, doesn't really matter, right? You should be growing in virtue. And if education is not getting you there through standard means, then the impetus is on you to try and develop yourself into a virtuous person that people will look up to and want your wisdom when you're old to help them live their life. And so I would just encourage you as an audience to do that. take the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're good.
All right.
Okay.
See everybody next time.